Very good morning, it's Penuel the Black Pen. I'm going to keep this as short as I can. I unfortunately need to rush off and play touch rugby. Very important for Penuelists is to make sure that you invest in your health. 100 push-ups every day, 100 squats every day, 200 calf raises, and then 30 minutes of walking or running every day to take care of your health. On top of that, make sure that you're eating the right stuff. So Joshua Maponga on the Pan-African TV online decided to raise this thing that has been raised many times before, of saying that South Africa is actually a listed corporation in the United States of America. So a lot of people have asked in the various comment section that I address this thing and then give my thoughts. I don't think I'll have much time to give my thoughts, but I will just raise this. Importantly, I'm hoping that there will be comments under this. And then if needs be, hopefully later today, maybe I can do a more extended video covering some of the nitty-gritties of this assertion and the implications thereof and the underlying, but basically all the various factors that you have to consider, especially as a South African citizen. So this is from News 24, published on the 25th of April 2016. Why is the Republic of South Africa registered as a corporation? They don't give a person that wrote this article. Okay, so I don't need to reference anyone, just news24.com. Why is the Republic of South Africa registered as a corporation with the Securities Exchange Commission in the USA? When a friend told me that it was, I told them that I didn't believe them. But he told me to Google Republic of South Africa CIK number *000-932-419. I did, and sure enough, there it was, a company registered in that name. I sent several emails to the South African Treasury Department and got no response from them. I wanted to alert them that besides copyright infringements, there may be a corporation out there masquerading as representing the Republic of South Africa. It raised a lot of questions for me. Why would the Securities Exchange Commission register a company in the name of a sovereign country? Who are the shareholders of this corporation? Who are their representatives? It boggles the mind that there's a corporation out there trading in the name of the Republic of South Africa, CIK *000-932-419. There is an opportunity for widespread corruption and fraud if their representatives are not legitimate. Then I went to Quora.com, very good place for answering and asking questions. And the question was asked, why is South Africa registered as a company in the USA? And one of the favorite answers was from Justin Fanning, who wrote, a number of countries are set up as US LLC companies for the purposes of borrowing money in the US market. The danger of lending money directly to a foreign country is the government can change and not acknowledge the debts of the previous government. The country could simply pass local laws to say repayment is not required, etc. By incorporating in the USA, what countries are saying is lending to them is no more risky than lending to, say, Google or Apple, in that they are governed by the same US SEC rules. You can see that on Quora.com. And then for you guys, very importantly, Sizwe Dlomo and Ukuku, I don't know Ukuku's surname. Okay, let me just say Ukuku and Sizwe Nukaya FM decided to speak to the Director for Debt Issuance and Management at Treasury for South Africa. The person's name is Usino Vuyo Mbagama. There's a 14 and a half minute interview and discussion if you go to 702.co.za, and then you'll find it. I think to look it up, search for, is South Africa listed as a corporation in the US? Is South Africa listed as a corporation in the US? 702.co.za. Listen to that 14 and a half minute conversation. For me, what stood out was the fact that Usino Vuyo doesn't have full details of what's happening. What he does acknowledge is the fact that yes, Treasury is the only government department that has a right to register South Africa in the US. Why they registered in the US, he's not fully sure and is going to find out. But he has said that the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission in the US, is similar to what we used to call the FSB, the Financial Services Board, and it's now called the FCSA. I think the Financial Commission of South Africa. These are the people that govern our stock markets. They govern insurance companies. They govern unit trusts, etc., etc. I think it's fundamentally important to understand. One of the viewers called in and asked, does this mean that South Africa is registered in other countries as well? To which Usinovuyo said, no, it's only registered in the United States because they believe that they have the most stringent requirements there, so they don't need to register with other states. One of the questions he didn't ask, or didn't answer at least, was, are other countries also registered with South Africa, with our FCSA or FSB, the Financial Services Board, as you guys used to know it? And he didn't get to answer that. Someone wanted to know about the implications of the banks rigging currencies back in the day, which is something that came up with Absa, Standard Bank, and other banks as well. I didn't get a satisfactory answer, but it was to say, if the currencies are being rigged by our banks there, which is not the government, but it's private institutions, how does that impact how the world views us? And can we fix those things? You know, one of the cool things was Sizwe Dhlomo went and he looked up on the SEC, to find that a whole host of other countries are also listed there. And it's not just South Africa, including some queen as well that's listed there. So it's going to be a very interesting conversation for you guys to listen to. I think for me, fundamentally, it's for us to understand the history of this country as being a piece of land, which at some point the British came and colonized. And then after colonizing it, it became a subsidiary of the United Kingdom under the Queen of England. And from there, it seems we've never left the grip of the United Kingdom because the Afrikaners had to still pay homage to the British in order to run this country with the apartheid government of the National Party. And from there, the African National Congress, the ANC, also had to pay homage to the Queen for them to take over from the Afrikaners to run this country. And to date, we still use English by and large as a language of governing this country and governing our economy. We still use the Roman Dutch law from the UK. We still have our presidents that go to London. One of the scary things Usinovuyo Mpagama raised is the fact that as much as we are registered with the SEC as a foreign government and not necessarily a corporation, which he said he's going to go and review and confirm, which means he doesn't have full details, our bonds are registered in a country called Luxembourg, which is very important. I've said before that the South African Reserve Bank models the Central Bank of London. And all the reserve banks, all the central banks that you guys know, feed into the banks in Switzerland, which are governed with very, very heavy secrecy laws, which is why a lot of rich people will never know their wealth, a lot of politicians and presidents, because of these secrecy laws. What I need you guys to understand just for now is that South Africa is fundamentally a piece of land. It's a piece of land. It will always be a piece of land. But because there are human beings on there, the human beings have created these things that we call fictional realities. They've created laws. They've created borders. They've created an identity, a flag, of which one of our current criticisms is the Minister, I think, of Sports, Arts and Culture, Natim Tetwa. They've tabled a 22 million rand budget to build a 100-meter high flag. And South Africans are extremely upset with rampant poverty in this country, with our issues like load shedding, potholes, with the floods that we saw KwaZulu. Yet our government is going to be spending 22 million rand for a flag. Do we need a flag? Do we need it to be 100 meters high? And why 22 million rand? Who will be getting that money? We've got a flag, we've got a name, South Africa, we've got obviously a national anthem, we've got an identity. These are things that human beings created. From there, they created the courts and the legal system. They created our government. They created parliament, so to speak. And then obviously we've got the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. We've got the South African Reserve Bank. We've got our currency being the rand. And today we're governed by all these fictional realities to a point that the South African Reserve Bank has got private shareholders, which is another thing we have to discuss because they refuse to dismantle it. And the ANC at some point spoke about nationalizing. At some point, the EFF spoke about nationalizing. Nothing has happened. Tito Mboweni, the ex-finance minister and ex-Reserve Bank governor, has gone on to say, no, we need to keep it private. And yet you find that some of these shareholders are not even South African citizens. They're from Europe. So how does that serve South Africans to have a foreign-owned central banking system? Who controls our money? When we find out that the banks can rig our currencies, who exactly is in control? How does it affect South Africans? Who controls ratings agencies like Moody's, Finch, and S&P and those kind of, or Standard & Poor and those type of people? You know, who is controlling us fictionally and in our minds? We are a piece of land. We have some rivers. We have some mountains. We have some good soil. We have some great minerals. We have great animals. And we've got human beings that can provide great labor. And then after that, you've got small groups of people, locally and overseas, who seem to control our minds using these fictional realities. One of them being this idea that, oh, South Africa is owned as a corporation. It may be owned just like a title deed, but I'm telling you now, unlock your mind out of that. Just because someone tells you that there's a title deed, it doesn't mean you have to respect it. Just because someone tells you that this 100 Rand note can buy something, you do not have to respect it. Just because someone says, but this is in the law, this is in the constitution, you don't have to respect that. There are human beings that came onto this piece of land and created these systems and have forced us through the schooling system, through mainstream media, through the church, and through celebrities to follow these systems that by and large oppress the majority of South Africans. And it's up to you guys to unlock your minds and not only fight to dismantle and create new systems, but for you at any given time to challenge these systems and say, I do not want to abide by that. It's cute that the government and a few people at Treasury have registered a corporation in South Africa, but I don't respect that. If tomorrow someone says you owe America, I won't pay them. If tomorrow someone says, no, you guys are governed by somewhere in Luxembourg or in Switzerland, we will not respect that. By Tokyo in Japan, by Hong Kong, we will not respect that because we will say you did not make that agreement with us. You made it with our government, which voted themselves in through a flawed democratic system. It's not direct democracy. It's some type of proportional democracy where a handful of people who get tenders, who get some of the tax money, who are in control, get to control that because the masses of South Africans are politically illiterate, are economically and financially illiterate, and their vote, it's like a drunk person. Their vote shouldn't count because they are not in the correct state of mind to fully understand exactly what putting across there means. We cannot be shackled by your codesas and things that I found out just recently. There are no documents for CODESA for us to fundamentally see what was negotiated and concluded. We're just being told through rumors that we have to abide and agree by these things. And South Africa is held by the balls by our constitution, which was created or drafted by a small group of people. We have to abide by the United Nations, a small group of people that don't fundamentally care about the masses of South Africa. What they care about is our economy. How can they milk our resources? How can they exploit our farmland? How can they exploit the labor of our people? And it's about time that you guys unlock your minds and study history on a very deep level to make sure that you understand these things so that you can fight them. Fight them. And this is why, besides your health, which is important, I say we need to look to superior weapons. A gun is still small. We need to be looking into drone technology. We need to be looking into nuclear weapons, just as Russia has, just as North Korea has, just as the United States of America has. Because the one thing I know about the people that are in power is that as soon as you fight back psychologically and you tell them we will not abide, what do next? They send their soldiers. They come and they bomb you, just as the United States has recently bombed Somalia. But no one is losing their shit online. No one is losing their shit saying America must leave Somalia and stop killing Africans. Instead, America and their propaganda machine that is so strong is making us focus on the war in Ukraine with Russia, which we don't fully understand. But what we do know is that America has a huge stake in the economy of Ukraine because they make a lot of money from Ukraine. And here they are bombing Somalia with their drones and all these other things. And it's up to us, the citizens, not the government. Your government is captured. They don't care about you. They care about money. They care about sitting on boards with private institutions. That's why Tito Mboweni is now sitting on the board of Discovery. That's why he's an advisor to Goldman Sachs. That's why Trevor Manuel was sitting on the board of Rothschilds. That's how it works. Cyril Ramaphosa sits on the boards of big private corporations. That's how it works. They don't care about you. On top of that, they report to the United Nations, which doesn't care about you. They only care about milking you as a nation. And it's about time that the citizens wise up and get smarter and fight back. Psychologically, of course, but physically as well, so that if ever they bring their soldiers and those people in, we can fight them fire for fire. And if needs be, at some point, we can then take the fire to their country. Because they want to bomb us, we can then go and bomb them as well and show them what's an eye for an eye, mano a mano, nizonia. That's why Muammar Gaddafi was killed, wanting to unite Africa under the African Union. That's why BRICS is such a sensitive topic for the West, because you've got the collaboration of China, Russia, India, which have huge populations that are trying to be strong. You've got the G20, for example. You've got the World Economic Forum. People don't know these things, and that's why we're so easily captured and oppressed and destroyed. And you wake up every day, you're imprisoned by the concept of chasing money, which is rigged and controlled so that you never have enough of it. You can be earning a great salary, but they shackle you with debt, your bond, your car, your kids' medical aid, high school fees, high cost of living. You have to pay rates for your house. You have to pay toll gates. You have to pay for fees. You have to pay for licensing. You're constantly drowning under this system that is not fair because a few people at the top have control of it. Please go and do that research. Please share your comments at the bottom and hopefully we'll engage a bit better. Let me go and play touch rugby. Pen you all the black pen. Love you guys very much. Let's open our minds. Become penalists. Penal is God. Penalism is the answer. Cheers.